Politics meets real life. We break down state and federal issues, showing how policy shapes everyday Americans. Engaged, balanced, and informative. That's our promise. I'm your host, Mikkel Jenkins, and today we have a whole list of things to go over since we last talked, Muhammad. And
Yeah, it's
starting
been like
off with
what, a week
yeah,
and
it's
a
been like a
half.
week. Yeah, we've been busy. Have some good guest
It
episodes lined up, and some that have been released so far. So we're moving in pretty good momentum, and just want to keep that up. That's all. And going to start first with the domestic policy, looking at the Democratic momentum and Republican disarray that is now penetrating almost every single state legislature and or Republican congressman or woman in the country. So the
you know,
2025, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I crap on I talk bad about the Democrats a lot and for good reason, but I woke up Wednesday morning feeling high on life. You know
Oh
what
yeah,
I mean? I woke
basically
up,
last night was like Christmas on us. Well, not last night, but you know what I mean. The third was, well, the fourth was basically like Christmas scene. They're just winning and winning and winning left and
winning
right, left
left
and
and
right.
right,
Yeah,
giant shifts of momentum. The thing is, man, like I when I wake up in the morning, I like go to look at X for like my 15-minute. I call it my
yeah.
news session. I'm like, what the okay? So what's happened in the last day since I was
Hmm.
asleep? And just seeing how much the Democrats won, I was like, like I want the Democrats to be better, but if between shit and flaming shit, let me say it more professionally, between being put between spikes or a flat
A rock in
rock,
a hard place, right?
I'd rather, yeah, between a rock and a hard place. I feel like the Democrats are the softer group in terms of pain. You know what I mean? We're
Yeah,
seeing it
no,
right
definitely.
now. What we're getting with the Republicans, man, the GOP, it is bad. And I
Yeah, it's
think
so bad.
a
Yeah,
lot of
the
people are seeing that because Trump's had his time and moment in the sunlight to see what he can do, and he's
yeah,
just doing all this nonsense, tariffs, Epstein, and even more, going further with it. He's got his ballroom now while people are on Snap trying to get food that's being defunded, and states have to take up the bill because the federal government's withholding money, our money, mind you. That's our money they're
yes,
keeping
yes,
away
and
from
yes.
us. Why
Yeah,
are you going to take my money and then say you're going to give it to me for a social benefit and then not do that? Let me just keep my damn money so I can feed my family better.
yes,
It's so
and
frustrating.
all of
But
our New Jersey listeners, please, if you're having issues with SNAP or any of those benefits, we have released out some information on our X page. Please go take a look into those services. As we know, this shutdown is affecting a lot of people, 800,000 specifically within New Jersey. So just as we like to report the news, we also
just
like to put
within
out,
Jersey, that's
just
crazy.
like, yeah, no, just in Jersey is crazy, but we also like to make sure our listeners have the resources when times are tough, such as with this shutdown. But as Mohammed was saying, yes, Democrats are riding a wave of renewed energy and really public trust, while Republicans continue to grapple with internal divisions and the political cost of prolonged dysfunction across
Good way to
several
put it.
battlegrounds.
Good way to
Yeah,
put it.
very dysfunctional, and across several battlegrounds, which after the election, you had Republicans stating, this is like a not really a win to pat themselves on the back, as in Democrats, given it was all in Democratic leaning cities, states, municipalities, counties, etc. But that's just them trying to soften the blow, really. Democrats not only defended key seats, but flipped traditional conservative counties with
Oh, yeah,
Representative Mikey
it's
Sher. I mean,
surprising.
yep, yeah, with Representative Mikey Sherrill, who is now governor elect. Success in moving every county in New Jersey left. Mind you, that every county in New Jersey swinging left, serving as a symbolic bellwether for the party's momentum, really. Her victory encapsulated the broader trend of moderate and suburban voters turning towards Democrats, particularly in states where reproduction rights, education, and government stability were major issues. And all those three things that I've just said are also cases that are being taken up by the Supreme Court as well, in
Can't
some
wait for
way
the
or
tariff
some manner.
decision.
Yeah, I
I
can't wait for the
cannot
decision.
wait
I'm
for the
definitely
tariff
gonna be
decision.
touching on that because yeah, I'm gonna save it for that. So yeah, we'll save it for that. We got a lot,
I got a lot to say about that topic. So yeah, I'll
definitely.
hold off my thoughts until we get there.
Yeah, and Politico reports that Democratic strategists are already eyeing Senate races. Once considered out of reach, are now seeming like Democrats could actually possibly win back a few seats in the Senate, make things a little bit more on balance for the Republicans. And then with Polymarket, they have a seven. Democrats have now a 70%, actually 71% chance
Ooh.
to now take the House. So I think Donald Trump is really starting to grip and gripe and twist and turn that it's very well that he's going to be a lame duck president in his second year.
He's going to
Um,
be the only president in history to get impeached twice.
yeah, I think. Well, I also think I could be wrong on this, but he could be the first president to be a lame duck twice in a row. Like when he first ran, I'm pretty sure that those midterms made him a lame duck. And
Yeah.
then, he had those last 2 years where the presidential election was, Biden won, so forth and so forth. But and then, looking over
Wait, I
at,
want to
yeah,
add a little bit, as we're ending here, specifically about the Jersey race. If you want, we can touch more into our save a little bit for later. But since you mentioned it and how it was shifting a lot to the left, I want to talk a little bit about it. A big thing that I noticed, I was looking at some of the districts in Jersey and how they like swung and seeing what the reports were saying about how big the swings were.
huge.
And this is something I'll say. And I think a lot of people agree with it. Most people aren't the opinion of most Americans isn't the opinion you see online on like Twitter and Instagram. Sure, many people may be waking up to the control and influence Israel has on our politics and our government, which is a very massive control of our politics and our government. But a lot of people aren't on the Groyper scheme level where they're like, well, this is because all Jews are bad people. We need to get rid of them. People
Yeah,
are rightfully. Most people would just say the Zionists are bad. Zionists can be all kinds of people. Zionists are simply people who dedicate allegiance to Israel on top of everything else, don't care what Israel does, and they will just simply continue to support Israel regardless of the crimes they commit and the evils they do. Now, what we're seeing on the right online a lot is that there's a lot of immigrant hatred, minority
hmm,
hatred,
yeah,
especially against Indians, Muslims too.
yeah. The whole
Damn, I feel
H1B1
bad for the Indians,
programs.
man.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
the whole H1, what was the H1B programs or something
H1B
like
visas, yeah,
that. I remember Vivek was very adamant
strong
about that
about
when
that.
and then they carted him off to the side and said, yeah, you're not going to be in this administration with those ideas, which is
Yeah, and
very very formidable of them to do that because I don't think
very telling.
stomach was for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
very
telling of
telling.
what this atomism believes. Like, oh, if you are actually, in support of this thing, we don't like you. And it really makes
Yeah,
me laugh. I'll finish my thought in a moment, but it really makes me laugh because the conservatives try to pride themselves in being the party of open thought. They like share that one study that shows that that conservatives have more diverse opinions than Democrats, and then they'll come over here and say things like, "Oh, well, we don't think Indians should be in America." And I'm
hmm,
like, you can say rightfully the H1B system can be improved. And then it's another thing to say we should get rid of Indians from the H1B system. That's two
yeah,
totally different things, two totally different statements. And in New Jersey, during the Sherill governor race, this one district that's primarily South Asian, a lot of Indians, because fun fact, if you guys don't know, New Jersey has the second largest Hindu temple in the world
yeah,
in the world. And there's a lot of Indians in New Jersey and a lot of proud Hindus as well. They wouldn't build and pay for the second largest Hindu temple in the world unless they were proud Hindus. This district went from plus 10, plus 12 Trump in 2024 to plus 42 Sherill. That's a
whoa,
57% swing, man. 57. Imagine that across the
the
country. It's
nation,
going to
yeah,
happen. And which
hmm,
leads me, I'll conclude my thought and that we can get back on board is that what most Americans aren't in the same realm in believing what people online say. A lot of what you see online is just people who are actively miserable and trying to spread that misery. As the saying
Yeah,
goes, misery loves company. And
sure
so all these
does.
people are trying to find other people who relate to them and believe in the same thing they do, and they can only find that in these like sub niche circles on the internet where people are openly allowed to spread that hatred with no regard. And I'm an American. I believe in free speech. Say whatever the hell you want. But don't be surprised when your speech has consequences. Don't say that Indians should be deported, that Muslims are all terrorists, and that women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they're stupid, and then be surprised when women don't vote Republican and neither do Indians nor Muslims.
Hmm.
You can't push out so many people and then say we need to make America white again. I'm like, dude, white people are the majority. What do you mean make it white again? It's already white. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Crazy. And it's just this racial talk that is really making so many people be like, I don't want to support this. If this is the kind of stuff that Trump, who I originally voted for, is now supporting, I don't support it. You know, I initially supported him because I wanted more economic freedom, and also I believe he was a better route for, you know, Indian Americans or XYZ Americans. But now that I'm realizing this guy is dancing with these people who are spreading so much hatred, or even worse, allowing these people who have filled with hatred, like Laura Loomer, who literally is one of the only two news organizations with access to the Pentagon now, and
Yeah.
also a role in the State Department, mind you, that evil witch. These people are now getting access to the president more than anyone. And people are seeing, like, dude, why the hell does Laura Loomer serve as an advisor to President Trump? Who put her in that role? No, who? We didn't vote for her to be this close to the president. We didn't vote for a proud Zionist who hates everybody who doesn't love Israel to be a advisor to the president. So now you're losing all these young people, especially. I mean, dude, we saw the young people numbers. It's like 67% support Democrat.
Yeah. Just
I know
about.
a lot of young people. They hate the Democrats. They hate Israel more than they hate the Democrats. So
Yeah, but
now
they'll
we're
go
just
over to the
seeing.
Democrats more than being with Republicans, and that's really where the Democrats need to shine out, and really we need to start.
Absolutely.
I think one of the best things that from the election and so forth that I would say that I think one of the best things that anyone had said during the election was actually AOC. She hit it right. She hit a nail on the head the way that she was explaining how Democrats need to run in every single state. She was saying that, we're going to have, your Democratic primary candidate, your fighter. In some states, it's going to be Mamdani. In some states, it's going to be, Abigail Spanberg. So what that's basically meaning,
Did she
like
shout out Graham Plattner in that as well?
yeah, like so, like
Yeah.
what's that? What that means is that Democratic Party is a big tent party. It's not a we're looking for a certain kind of individual. What the Democrats are now trying to position themselves to look for with candidates is that they're looking for individuals who are just going to be fighters for the working class, low income people. That's really all it is. It doesn't matter who they look like or kind of the ideologies that they have, because that obviously resonates with their district, county, state, whichever entity that they're going to be running in. And I think that's basically how the Democrats need to keep perceiving themselves to the greater audience and voters. Like we're a big tent party. Like same way how we had the Forward Party on, like how he was detailing how candidates are set up and so forth. They stick to their beliefs, but they just follow a little small piece and bit of what the Forward Party gives them. Like I think that is where the Democrats are going. I think that's the best place for them to go. The big tent ideology and idea that we're not just individuals with years of service or individuals who are in the business world or that have been former agency heads or things of that nature. Like, no, it's your everyday Americans that are just going to be fighters for, individuals that have felt disenfranchised, disadvantaged against. And I feel like it's really the precipice of what's coming in 2026. And then,
I
you
agree. The
also have with,
Republicans are nervous. Once you're
yeah,
done with this, I have a
they're
little bit
very
on my
nervous. No, they're very nervous. And then you have also with Gavin Newsom in California,
Prop
with shout
50.
out to him with Prop 50
Massive
getting
numbers.
to get, yeah, massive numbers for it, which is huge. And it also offsets the congressional map changes um, Texas has made as well. And following these redistricting wins from Democrats, this move is signaling that a party is ready to compete aggressively in red states, especially with demographic shifts and suburban growth, make formerly Republican regions more competitive, and that's pulling off from what I'm saying about Democrats more so wanting to get into those hard Senate races where it may be very competitive. But Mamdani started at 2% in his campaign. And
1%
he,
actually.
yeah, 1% in his campaign. So to anyone that is, out there looking to get into the race, the other hat in the race, it doesn't matter what you start at. It only matters where you finish. Now at the
The
flip
worst
of the
thing you can
coin,
do is
yeah,
lose. That's
yeah,
the
worst thing you
same
can
as if
do
you
is
didn't run
lose
in the
and
first place.
build your base up for another 2 years and then shoot at it again. And then on the flip side of the coin, you have on the Republican side, chaos continues to overshadow their somewhat recovery, as reports surface that Donald Trump personally blocked Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's potential Senate bid. Now,
I can
I know
see
we
why
talk about I know we
he's
talk about
profiting
this
off the
show a
MAGA.
lot,
It
but
makes sense. It
is this
makes
not
so much
is this
sense.
not House of Cards, my friend?
It
That
is.
first
That's
episode,
all politics
that
is.
yeah, that first
Listen,
episode, Frank got denied to run for Senate. Yeah, he got denied to run for Senate. No, he got denied
he
to
was
run for
denied a
cabinet, I think.
cabinet position.
Cabinet position. So he was like, fine, I'll play ball. But he did
He
not play
wanted chief
ball.
of
He
staff, if I
he
remember
took
correctly.
he took every single person down from the chief of staff to the vice president to the president and got himself in. And honestly, I commend Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out and stating that she possibly does want to run for president in 2028. I think her and AOC would be the prime time uh, candidacy to go against each other for the 2028 election if that ends up happening. But I love that she's going on a revenge tour. She's really speaking out on
She is.
multiple morning shows, kind of about like what MAGA was and so forth. And she even said that though she's attempting to distance her image, she's understanding that those conspiracy theories from QAnon and so forth, that she no longer subscribes to those things. So you're having one of the almost loudest voices in the room when it came to MAGA now actively speaking out just because she wanted to have a Senate run and now she's not getting what she wants. I think one of her tweets was like, it's like a business transaction. If you don't hold up to it, then you're going to have no customers, and that's kind of the same way that she's moving. She's moving now, but in complete
And-
contrast, we
yeah.
got Democrats coming together, full unity, and I don't think
Full unity from most,
yeah,
except
for
for
most,
the
yeah.
Israel shills. We saw with Richie Torres refusing to
Oh
endorse
yeah,
Mamdani, Hakeem Jeffries refusing to endorse him until literally the last day.
yeah.
Chuck
Last day
Schumer,
he's
who wouldn't even say whether or not he voted for Cuomo or Mamdani. You know what that means. He voted Cuomo. You know
yeah. I
Schumer
mean,
didn't
easily.
endorse Mamdani. You know for a fact that old whole. I was about to say something that I shouldn't say on. I need to be more professional on these. That old bag of bones. That's a good way of saying it. You know, that old bag of bones was not gonna vote for somebody who's anti-Israel.
Yeah, no,
And
he's not.
I think that I think the unifying part of what the Democrat Party is now and going forward will really be dependent on that. It'll be the litmus test of Democrats. Do you
Yeah, it
support
really will
Israel
be.
or do you not?
No. Realistically, it really will be, and that's also going to be a unity test on top of the ongoing government shutdown as it drags into its 37th day.
And
Unfortunately,
before we get into that, I want to touch on one last note as we dwell off the governor races, and more. So, in terms of the redistricting, one thing that I found interesting is that when they were doing the redistricting in Texas, well, first off, after the Democrats won hugely, Kansas canceled all redistricting. That means they were nervous of what would happen if they tried to spread out the vote in order for their favor because they saw how much of the vote was swinging towards the left. And it means two, they either disagree with Trump on that or they disagree with the ideology behind it as well. And so when we're looking at Texas, the Hispanics went massively from Biden to Trump in 2024. They had a massive swing over to Trump. Literally, the Hispanic men, it was like nearly a 50% swing towards Trump. And this election, after seeing the evils of ICE, the people, the Hispanics, are massively shifting again towards the Democrats because they're like, listen, man, I voted to get rid of illegal criminals. I didn't vote to get rid of, my friend who was literally just trying to work to make ends meet for his family. You know, I've known illegals personally. They were literally all hardworking people. And that's not to say that there isn't illegal criminals. I'm sure there is illegal criminals. I live in Maryland. I've dealt with illegal criminals. And that's a minority. So now these
Yeah.
Hispanics are really on the site of seeing like this isn't what I want nor what I voted for. If this is what the party stands for, I'm just going to vote the other way. The people who don't demonize my grace and my people. Texas has a lot of Hispanics.
Yeah.
A lot. Dude, I fully believe. I believe Texas will really reap what they sowed with this redistricting. The
Hmm.
country is leaning left because of how extreme and poor the governance is from the GOP. I think Texas is going to suffer far more from that than they planned. I think in their mind, they're like, this is an extra 8 easy seats. I think every single one of those seats is going to be a battleground now
Oh yeah, no,
because
without a doubt. Yeah, I think Texas is in play. I mean, I would say, I mean, a lot of states are going to be in play.
I
I'm
mean, people talk
very
about Texas like
excited.
it's purple now.
No, yeah, I'm very excited for what 2026 is going to bring in terms of midterms, in terms of also the candidates that we're bringing on that are going to be on ballots in 26 as well. But then
It'll be a
going
fun
back
time.
to, yeah, it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be an awesome time. And hopefully we'll be able to have like a midterm live, something of that nature. By then we'll be pretty more established. It'll be like,
We
it'll
should
be
go
more
to
than the
like
years. So
listen, we need to find like politicians in our states, you know, me in Maryland, you in Jersey. We need to do like live streams at like their events. I think that would be
yeah,
a
no, we
cool thing that
definitely,
viewers would like.
yeah, we definitely can incorporate that as we begin to build our bridges and build out our capacity on things that we can do effectively to make sure we're getting the news and facts to you guys in the same format that we always do. And then going back to the shutdown, which is now the longest in U.S. history at 37 days, Politico
Crazy.
and Punchbowl News are reporting suggests that several Democrats, including John Ossoff, who is in a very tight race, Gary Peters, Chris Coons, Mark Kelly, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, Janine Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, Agnes King, and Elisa Solkin, sorry,
A lot of
are
names.
engaged in behind the scenes bipartisan negotiations to reopen the government. And actually, last before we got on, I actually saw that there is some deal nearing finalization, hopefully by Friday. So that
I
could
just
be good for a lot of individuals that are going through these hard times. And so there
hopefully
are, yeah, there are progressive voices, including Senator Chris Murphy, who has been very outspoken ever since
he's from
Trump was in
Connecticut,
office.
ain't he?
And yeah, he's from Connecticut. Yep. And he warns that Democrats risk damaging the brand if they appear to back down after voters just rewarded them for fighting to protect the ACA subsidies. So I think that is very true in its terms. Senate Democrats more so Senate Democrats, because that's where the deal is going to start
Where
at. They need
the
to,
ball is in the Senate
yeah,
court
the
now.
ball is going to be in the Senate's court. So they need to, put their heels in the sand and actually make sure that the ACA subsidies are extended to an effect that you're not going to have premium skyrocketing out of control. And this sentiment reflects a growing internal battle between pragmatism and principle realistically. Because pragmatism is, have the ACA subsidies included, pass it, just let's just make a deal basically. Where the principle, it's like Republicans are probably like, oh well, we have the government, you guys have to balk to us. And on the other hand, Democrats are like, we just won by a landslide, slapped you guys left and right. So if you want to keep this going, it's only going to get worse. So it's
Yeah,
really who's going to bleed out first in a
Trump
sense.
actually commented on that. He was like, for some reason, the people are blaming us for the
Yeah, I
shutdown.
think it's
Like, who else would they blame?
the Republican lunch and the Democrats lunch that they have every day, like the caucuses have lunch and so forth. Um,
That's
but
funny.
then in the midst of all the gridlock, Senator John Kennedy, who has always had those funny videos where it's like you want to defund the police, like call a crackhead or something like that. Like that's the guy. That's Senator John
I
Kennedy.
kind of like
Uh,
him actually.
no,
Dude,
I like him too.
humor can go such a long way in likability. The sole reason why Trump won the presidency was because people found him funny. If Trump
No,
was
yeah,
as funny as Ted Cruz, he wouldn't have even made like the end of the primary the first time he ran.
No, not at all. And I like what he's doing because he's introduced a populist measure to withhold lawmakers' pay during the government shutdown, a bill aimed squarely at voters' frustration because why should they be getting paid when we're not? And while unlikely it's going to pass in its current form, the proposal taps into a widespread anger over political stalemates that disrupt essential services, as we're seeing with SNAP and
Flights.
SNAP benefits flights. Yeah, I think 10% of flights on top of the 40 um, not airlines, but
I looked into it.
airports
Yeah,
that are like,
I can speak a little bit more on this because I was
yeah,
actually reading about it. So so what they're looking at right now is they're looking at reducing the volume of air flights by 10% from the 40 major hubs in America.
isn't
That's
it
things like
just international if I'm not mistaken, or is it domestic too?
that's what they're not touching. With the flights that they're going to be rescheduling and canceling are the flights from these regional hubs to smaller airports. So
Okay.
that'll be things like from, let's say you're flying out of, JFK of New York. It'll cancel a flight going from JFK to, the Buffalo airport, for example. But the thing that they don't want to touch is the international flights and the hub to hub flights. So like something from, let's say, Washington Dulles to LAX, they don't want to cancel those. But the
Hmm.
ones that go from Dulles to Harrisburg International, the capital of Pennsylvania, because that's not a hub, those are the ones they're going to be canceling. So the FCC commissioner, not the FCC, the commissioner behind the flight, I'm blanking on it exactly, but the
Yeah, I
commissioner
forget
behind the
his name.
flight and you guys know what I'm talking about though. He said that this is unprecedented. This has never happened
Isn't it the
before.
Secretary of Transportation?
No, it's not the secretary. The Secretary of Transportation may have given similar comments, but I remember it was
I'm trying to
the
think.
chair behind the Federal Flight Commission, FFC. I think it was actually FFC, not FCC. And he said, this is unprecedented. We've never had to do this, and we hope that this will wrap up shortly so we don't actually have to cancel flights. But they did say that if flights are canceled or rescheduled, we will give full refunds to the people who schedule those flights to help them out as needed.
Talk about
But
refunds.
what? Yeah,
Said talk about refunds. Wait until we
talk
get to the
about
next
refunds.
section.
Yeah. And so that's what's happening. They're looking at cutting flights by 10% as of Friday if things don't get better.
Yeah,
And
Friday.
you
Yeah.
you just mentioned just to clarify for the listeners, Mikhail, that the Senate is actually meeting on Friday to talk about like a
Yes.
bipartisan deal.
So yeah, there's a Friday. There's potentially deal on Friday, but who knows honestly what's going to
Who
happen. I mean, I'm
knows?
going to be watching, not watching, but checking X back and forth. I've started following individuals that are like actively tweeting out when members meeting for lunches, having those secret meetings and so forth. So it's like getting some good intel. But there have been reports that a deal is nearing, which thank God, because I originally heard that this was going to go up to Thanksgiving, almost December 1st, and
That'd be
I had a coworker say
great.
he heard up to Christmas, and I'm like, eesh. I really
Yeah,
hope not.
that would lose all trust in the
Yeah,
GOP.
lose
I
completely all
don't
trust.
understand how they think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm confident that they're keeping the government shut down for Epstein to not have that get covered, to not have that let go. Because the moment the government opens back up, the House has to meet again as usual.
Yeah.
They're going to have to swear in Adelita. The moment they swear in
Mhm.
Adelita, they're going to bring up the vote to release the Epstein files. They have all the votes they need, unless Nancy Mace or Lauren Borbert decide to switch. Because we know Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene are fully committed, especially Marjorie. I mean, hell, the both of them are committed. We
And
all
so is the good man Rokan. Can't
yeah,
forget about him.
I'm very happy that we at least have some people in the new age of politicians. Rokan is not exactly like a young guy that you think of like Mamdani, but the Democrats of the old, like Pelosi and Schumer, were defending the Epstein files because they knew it would hurt the old class of Democrats. People like Clinton, hell, Joe
Yeah.
Biden might even be in there. He's been a senator since literally 30. The guy's like 78 right now, 48 years as a politician. I'm
Yeah.
sure he got somehow in. I don't know. I don't believe he was raping kids, like Donald Trump was, which, a fun fact, the DOJ recently told the GOP House that the Epstein files are more damning for Trump than they initially thought. So I think two things. I think one, once the government opens back up, they're going to release the Epstein files and they're going to be forced to. And I think two, the moment they do and it all comes out about all this depravity that Trump, which only if you've stuck your head in the sand which is a good amount of people, which makes me sad. I love my fellow Americans, but you guys need to stop sticking your head in the sand. They're going to realize how depraved this man is, raping American children.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a point where the GOP is going to be like, listen, guys, we are losing a lot, and we're going to continue to lose unless we abandon Donald Trump. He's going to be a lame duck. He won't be able to get anything done. This is his last term. He won't be able to run again. He's losing influence and he's losing power. We need to take a stand, and we need to change our mentality. I
Yeah,
am
I mean,
What'd you
yeah,
say?
so I mean, there's been very intensified talks about. He's had these talks with Thune and Johnson about getting rid of the filibuster, which would be the
I've
worst
heard about that,
thing.
but you know more
That
about
would
it
be
than
the
I.
worst thing ever that you could do. If you do that, then that precedent that sets, ooh man, when Democrats get
Republicans have already
in,
used the nuclear option 3 times in
right?
one
But
term,
it's like for
in one
for
year, not even one term.
right, but I think that was just for nominations, which is not too far out of
But that
purview.
opens the door for the Democrats to do that as well.
Well, yeah,
Before
for
before
nominations, yes,
the
of course. But if it were to for like a bill or things of that nature, if that precedent sets in where it's only a 51 majority, yeah, good luck, because a whole lot of bad will continue to happen on both sides. I mean, you only need one more vote than the next person instead of needing 60 threshold, which I think how it should continue to be. I think needing anything less than
I
60
want
is not responsible or reasonable for good legislative compromises to come out of the Senate, because Senate and the House have there's two rules on both of them. There's 60 rule in both instances. There's a 60 rule in there. I forget what the nuclear option is for the House, or there may not even be one.
I don't think there is one for the
But yeah,
House. I don't think there is one for the House. But for the Senate, it's been used 4 times in history. Once in 2013 by a Democrat, twice in 2017 and 2019 by the Republicans, and then a fourth time this year with Trump. Hell, I think they've used it twice this year.
yeah,
Twice this
twice,
year,
yeah,
actually. So
yeah.
fourth and fifth time. The last 4 times the nuclear option has been used has been under Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dude, even Nick Fuentes said this. He was like, "I'm confident and I'm nervous because he's a white supremacist nationalist,"
Yeah,
which blows my. I can go a quick 15-second rant. The funniest thing about white nationalists is that there's tiers of whiteness. MJ, if you'd believe this, I'm not white according to white nationalists. I'm not white according to white nationalists. They like, oh,
the
you're
one guy
Slavic.
that commented on our live the one day thought you were
Yeah,
white.
yeah. That Groiper thought I was white. He was like, "Why is a white guy Muslim?" He's like, "Oh, because you're not actually white." It doesn't make sense. There's tiers of whiteness in white supremacy. It just makes me laugh so much. It's very Hitler like. And but to the point is that what we're seeing now is I really do believe, and Fuentes himself was saying, which I agree with, one of the few things I agree with him on. He was like, once the Democrats take power, they're going to be ruthless with what they do. I agree with that. I
As
think
they
that the
should.
Democrat voters are expecting something from their politicians, and that is a strong battle against this corruption that we're seeing from Donald Trump and the GOP. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if a Democrat congressman or congresswoman, I should say a congress member to be inclusive, if they're not delivering on that battle, that their constituents won't be happy with them, and that there will be a primary, somebody who is willingly happy to primary them. I mean, we're seeing
Oh
that
yeah,
right now with Richie Torres. Dude, Richie
yeah,
Torres has like 4 primary opponents that have all raised within a million or more. I mean, we
yeah.
had
We had one
Jose
on the
on our
podcast
podcast
too.
the other
Yeah,
day. Chat for or whoever's listening, our listeners who are listening. We had Jose Vega on our stream the other day, and we hope that you guys listen to that episode. If you haven't, go back listen to it. It's a
let's
very
go
good
back and
episode
listen.
about a
Very
big
good episode.
candidate
Very
going
good
against
episode.
the very corrupt Richie Torres. He's raised nearly 7 figures, and he is one of the 3-4 people in that race who have done so. Raised nearly 7 or more figures in donations to unseat
Yeah.
Richie Torres. And that just shows how much the Democratic voters and people want this negligence or weak mindedness out of the party. They don't want to deal with people who are like, oh, we're going to support Israel even though they're murdering people because we don't believe they're
Yeah.
murdering children. What you see on the news isn't true. What the videos you see, they're all false. We don't clearly the Israel government wouldn't want to murder children. Why would they? They're a
Right.
democratic government. And then it's like also, we should talk with the Republicans who want to take away your health care. Dude, so aside from the ACA subsidies, for those who don't know, the ACA subsidies are basically primarily for the marketplace health insurance. The marketplace health insurance is for people who don't have insurance through work and want to get it through other means. So if you're self-employed, you're going to get marketplace health insurance, and
Yeah.
and without the subsidies, it skyrockets in price. But even with disregarding the marketplace health insurance and only focusing on the workplace health private insurance, even private insurances through workplaces, through employers, have been going up in price. I've seen
Hmm.
people saying that their health insurance through their employers going up 30 to 40%. And I
Wow.
work in accounting. This is other accounts from other companies who I've heard say this, that they're going up almost 50% in price from one year to the next. That's because of bad policy. That's because of bad governance. That's because the people in power care more about lining the pockets of the billionaires in the health industry than they
Yeah.
care about you. And the thing that the Republicans have been selling people on for so long is that we want to give you more money and more freedom. Well, buddy, you're taking our money and you're trying to take away our freedom. So what the
Hmm.
hell do you
Very much
stand for?
so.
What the
Yeah, very
hell do
much
you
so.
stand for?
No, yeah. I mean, realistically, that's what a lot of voters are starting to ask, their representatives and so forth, especially on the GOP side of things, and want to get into the next part of the podcast episode, looking at legal developments, tariffs, power, and the Epstein files. We'll actually start with the Epstein
Ooh.
files because that was
Ooh.
already brought up. But meanwhile, Washington is abuzz over new developments in the Epstein files, which continue to
Buzz
ripple
is one
through
way to say it.
political and diplomatic circles. According to GOP sources cited in the notes, a handful of Republican House members claim to have heard from FBI and DOJ contacts that unreleased Epstein materials are worse than expected, allegedly, including photos implicating high-profile figures with rumors naming Trump himself. The House Oversight Committee has formally reached out to, well, Andrew Mountabine Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, requesting cooperation in the investigation. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a very, yeah, yeah.
No, I'm laughing.
Thank God we don't have those types of names here in America.
I'm laughing because the royal family kicked them out of
Oh,
the
kick them right to
royal
the curb.
family. They
Right to
kicked
the
them
curb.
out like a week ago.
Oh yeah.
They knew something was happening. And then today we learned the House Oversight Committee is
Yeah.
demanding he testify. They knew that was going to happen. The
Oh yeah, they knew
royal
that was gonna
family
happen.
has
There's no way they
connections.
didn't.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean
So
to
there's
cut
no
you.
way that they didn't. And what they're requesting is cooperation in its investigation into Epstein's sex trafficking network. So the letter cites, it was a very lengthy letter, about 2 pages actually, cites
Damn.
Andrew's long-standing friendship with Epstein dating back to 1999 and
That
his
pedophile
continued,
dude.
yeah, and his continued contact even after Epstein's 2008 conviction, which we all know that was given by what's Alex Acosta? Was his name, right? Acosta,
I'm blanking. I'm
who's
blanking.
now with the Trump administration.
I just
It
know that
also,
Epstein got very favorable circumstances in that 2008 case for
yeah,
the
very
fact that he was
very
trafficking
favorable.
and raping children of America.
It also references Virginia Joffrey's allegations that she was sexually abused and lent out to Andrew as a minor. These
May she rest in
revelations,
peace.
yeah, may she rest in peace. And these revelations not only reignite the international scrutiny over Epstein's political connections, but also raise questions about accountability and transparency within U.S. institutions still grappling with the scandal's fallout. And as Muhammad has been saying, that one Arizona senator or House representative,
House representative.
has not still been sworn in. I was actually reading a theory is that I think there's a special election somewhere. I think there's a special election in Texas, and I think they're waiting for that individual to be sworn to win the race, the Republican, I think it's Texas or Tennessee. It's one of the southern states, so that they want that individual to get in, so it balances out the vote. If you know what I mean, like to bring it
Yeah.
up for a
So
vote
the Epstein files don't
in
get
the House.
released.
So yep, so the Epstein files never can get released, and Johnson can say, he can try to somehow
That cuck.
unblemish himself from holding back this Arizona representative from actively representing her district, because she's lost about 4 to 6 months of representing time that she should be doing for her constituents. And we'll see what continues from the oversight committee, and if Prince Andrews will actually adhere to the
I
formal
doubt it.
request. I doubt it too, but you never know.
The
The
pedophiles ride together, man.
royal family could be
Pedophiles
like, you
ride
have to
together.
go. Even though they kicked them out, royal family could still be like, well, you're gonna go to this because we're not gonna have you or your actions tainted upon the family and diminish the family view. Like, yes, he's out.
Possible.
Like, yes, I get it, he's
Sure.
out, but there's still that
That image.
guilty by association connection is like
Yeah,
basically
like,
what I
oh,
wanted to
this
go
is
down.
Prince Andrew. Everyone still thinks of him as Prince Andrew of the royal
Yeah,
family. Like, you can
exactly.
kick him out, but clearly he's still Prince Andrew of the royal family.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And then moving from that to, the latest, Trump has had numerous Supreme Court wins. We all know, we've covered them. We've talked
Those
about them.
sellouts, conservative not
Yeah.
constitutionalists. They're
Yeah, no, not
Trumpists.
constitutionalist at all. But the
Yeah.
Supreme Court's latest term is shaping up to be a critical test of executive power, particularly in the case concerning Trump's use of global tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So during oral arguments, justices from across ideological spectrums expressed skepticism toward the Trump administration's assertion that national security justified the sweeping tariff regime. Analysts from CNN and Politico reported that the court's questions suggested concern that the IEEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, was being used as a backdoor for unilateral economic policy rather than legitimate emergency measures. So, should the court strike down Trump's use of law, his administration may turn to other statutory tools, such as Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act, which permits temporary tariffs to address trade imbalances, or Section 301, historically used to counter unfair foreign practices. Another plausible avenue is Section 338 of the 1930 Tariff Act, allowing steep retaliatory tariffs against nations that discriminate against U.S. trade. So the outcome of this case will define not only Trump's economic leverage, but also the future scope of presidential authority over commerce. And if he has to repay all of that back to the countries, it's really looking like that's going to happen, because the skepticism is high. When I was listening and reading from the opinions, they were Chief Justice Roberts was asking. I know it wasn't Scott Bessent, but I forget who the individual who was getting scrutinized for the tariffs. Basically saying, like, are the tariffs taxes? Basically stating that the tariffs are taxes on the American people, and that the consumers are the ones that bear those costs. So it's individuals that have been aggressively out there stating and touting that tariffs are not taxes. I would happily point you to the Supreme Court's comments and future ruling, which may come this year or in January, or may come in January or later. No, actually, I'm sorry, may come before the end of the year or in March, I believe. One of
Sooner
the
the
two.
better on this.
So yeah,
one,
sooner
man.
the better, because he will have to mitigate all of that damage. And I mean, it's kind of funny to see. It's not kind of funny to see, because this is going to do reputable damage. But if he didn't illegally start putting these tariffs on, we wouldn't be in this situation realistically. If he just went through manners the correct way, now opening up this precedent hole for the next person to come into, it's like I'm kind of glad that the Supreme Court is going to put this in check, because that's that one precedent that's now going to be closed, depending upon where they fall in their opinion. And I know, Muhammad, you had a good amount to speak on this before we go to our economic landscape. So let me get your two pieces on that.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I'm a much more of a economic market free market kind of guy. You know, I do believe that no taxes is generally the best solution for when it comes to
Okay.
trade. Yeah, no, take your time. So when it comes to what we're looking at as these tariffs, is that Trump is trying to strong arm people and punish different individual countries with these tariffs. Now, one of the most important things to talk about, and what I find fascinating and hilarious, we lose money most of the time we trade with countries. Most of the countries we trade with, we lose money. The one country, the country we made the most, actually made money with, we made the most money trading with Brazil. One of the few countries, I literally think it's like one of the 5 countries we made money trading with, and they're number one when the country made the most with. Trump put 50% tariffs on them. And you might be thinking, well, what the hell did Brazil do? Did Brazil, like, do something bad against America? No. Trump put the 50% tariffs on Brazil because they did hit their former president with corruption charges. So imagine that. Imagine a country that hasn't done a damn thing to America. And then Trump's like, I don't like what they're doing domestically. I don't like their domestic politics. I'm going to hit them with a 50% trade tariff, despite the fact that the American people make money trading with them. You want to go even further. I think they should. I think they should drop the case altogether. I think they're doing something stupid over there. I think the Brazilians don't know what they're talking about. And it's ridiculous. The fact is that we put 50% tariffs on the country we make the most money with is an example of how this isn't actually about for a proper economic respect or trade respect. This is
Yeah.
about the president trying to flex his might in whatever way he can. And Trump, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I've said it about other politicians. I'll say it definitely about Trump. He isn't a strong man. He's pathetic and weak. He dodged the draft. And don't get me wrong, if you were against Vietnam War, I fully understand that. If you
Fully
pulled the
understand.
Muhammad Ali route where you said, listen, I'm not going to go fight for these people. I'm not going to go fight against the Vietnam people because you want to stop the spread of communism. My fight is in this country for my people. If you argued that, I'd be like, that's noble. I
Yeah,
understand that. You
boom.
know
Yeah,
what I
the
mean? You
bones
gotta, you got,
hurts.
yeah, like why the hell are we talking about invading Vietnam when we've got so many domestic problems? Hell, we even have that same argument right now. Why are we talking about invading the Middle East? Why are we talking about helping Israel with all these wars when we've got so
Yeah.
many problems domestically?
I think
So
they'll
then
also
when we
be
look at what happened with the
Venezuela.
Vietnam War, Trump dodged the draft. When we look at what's happening with the tariffs, Trump is just using these tariffs left and right to try to levy his strong arm to feel like a tough man. Trump is using bombing innocent but I shouldn't say innocent because there's a chance that some of
No,
them
I
may
mean
be
there
actual
was
drug
that
traffickers.
one.
But I should say
Yeah.
this to be exactly legally proper. Trump is bombing people who haven't been proven guilty of anything
Hmm.
because he's accusing them of delivering drugs. Take in mind, most of the drugs that come into this country in terms of fentanyl, crack, heroin, cocaine, all the rock comes in from Miami, the Florida from the south coming in from boats and across the land border in Texas. It's not coming from Venezuela. It's coming from Colombia and the cartels in Mexico. So this isn't about Trump doing what he thinks is right. It's about him thinking that he's a strong man who can do these strong man things when he's in fact pathetic. And I'll gladly say it. I'll say it 3 times. I'll say it 4 times. I'll say it till the day I die. Trump's a pathetic man. If you think Trump's a strong man, I think that you need to look inside and realize that the idea of a strong man is something that Trump isn't. The idea of a strong man is someone who's able to take responsibility for their faults and grow and support those around them so they don't have to deal with these problems. Trump is putting the problems on everybody else. Trump is dealing with his own personal insecurities by putting them on the entire damn country.
Yeah.
And when we see what he's doing with these tariffs, China is a fantastic example. For nearly a year now, he has been threatening China with tariffs, only to resign them at last minute because he knows he doesn't have the power against China. Despite this fact that he's had 0% tariffs on China because he's scared. China says, well, I'm going to call out your bluff. I'm not going to buy soybeans from your farmers anymore. I'm not going to buy your crops. I'm not going to buy your agriculture. We'll just go elsewhere because why the hell would we buy from you when you're acting like this with us? That's a very fair argument. So we now see that these tariffs are having the exact opposite of an effect that Trump said they would. And most people aren't head in the sand enough to realize that. They're like, dude, things are getting more expensive. My life's getting worse. The rent's going up.
Yep.
Groceries are going up. Energy's going up. Healthcare's going up. And I'm making the same amount of damn money. You told me these things would work. You told me these would help us. And now I just see that you're using them for your own personal whim for no damn reason. And I think that we're at the point where the Supreme Court is going to rule against the president.
Yeah.
I'm confident
I'm
about that.
very confident that they're going to. And like as you're saying, this is a great segue into the next, going over the economic landscape that has been the last few days. Like, people don't feel like these tariffs are living up to what the Trump administration has said and how it's benefiting, the consumer in the sense. Like the October Challenger report paints a sobering picture of the U.S. economy. I mean, 153,000
job
jobs
numbers are not good.
completely cut, the highest total for the month in 22 years, largely attributed to AI-driven cost reductions. And we've talked about how these AI companies these companies are laying off thousands of individuals. Chegg, with the largest at 45% cutting their staff due to new realities of AI abilities. That's an actual quote. And then also basically an excuse. And then they call it, corporate restructuring or things of that nature. But, CNBC reports that the layoffs span technology, media, and financial sectors, industries once viewed as immune to cynical downsizing. And analysts suggest that while AI adoption promises long-term efficiency, it's also accelerating short-term displacement, with firms cutting human staff faster than new roles are being created. Even in Washington, the ongoing government shutdown has added further strain. As we were just talking, the FAA announced a 10% reduction in flights across 40 major airports, warning that continued furloughs could create cascading effects on commerce and supply chains during the holiday season. At a time, OpenAI's request for federal financial backing has been sparking debate about public responsibility for
low on money.
Private sector innovation. According to Bloomberg, the company has floated the idea of government-backed loans, effectively asking taxpayers to guarantee its debt. And critics like venture capitalist David Sachs have slammed this proposal, and I hope everyone slams this proposal, arguing that if AI startups fail, others will be there to take its place, and that Silicon Valley's resilience on public safety nets signals a maturing or even bursting tech bubble. And yet amid these economic uncertainties, President Trump announced a deal with top pharmaceutical companies to lower drugs by over 700%, which is great because we were just talking about he said 700%. So we'll see what that's really
I just want to add something, guys. You can't lower the price of something by 700%. You can lower it by 99.99%. You can lower it by nearly 100%, because if you lower it by 100%, it's zero.
But it's Donald Trump. I mean, we expect him to throw out crazy numbers like that. And then,
dude's got dementia like Biden.
Yeah, it's not great, the physical health that he is portraying when he's on camera and things of that nature. Like, I mean, he had his what was it, 11 o'clock his briefing in the White House, and the guy passed out. I don't know if you saw that. The guy passed out.
Yeah,
and he just stood there, and it was a very great photo.
It was the CEO of like Novodisk, I was going to say psychological therapeutical company. That's wrong. The therapeutical drug company of Novodisk.
It was a very telling photo of Trump standing there and everyone trying to help this one guy on the ground. I think
even Stephen Miller was helping him out.
RFK fled the scene. He went the exact opposite way. But just pulling back into the economy.
He sensed the COVID vaccine was the cause. He's like, I got to get away from this guy.
So got to get away. Scott Bassett added to the mixed messaging, stating that parts of the U.S. economy are already in a recession, which, who would have thought, Even as
Right,
the
right.
administration projects confidence, the contradictions reflect the broader volatility in both political messaging and market fundamentals, underscoring how fiscal policy, AI disruption, and political brinkmanship are covering the shape or cover or converging to shape an uneasy economic climate. So it's the economic outlook currently is pretty dim, even though they're stating there's high confidence. I even think McDonald's has said that they have seen a contraction in low income individuals eating at their restaurants, and McDonald's used to be the most lowest income that you could go to with $1. Now it's like
$1
yeah,
McDouble.
not
I
anymore.
miss those
McChicken
days.
is like
I miss
$4.
those
That
days.
used to be my go to was always two
Yeah,
chicken,
no, listen,
medium fry, medium high C. I mean, you can't.
if
That's like six
if I
dollars.
ever run for Congress,
Yeah,
if slash when I run for Congress, this is gonna be one of my things. 0% income tax on the first 40,000 and bring back the dollar menu at
yeah.
McDonald's.
I'm gonna
Those are the two
I'm gonna
things I'm
pull up
gonna
the
be
board
pitching.
from when we were in high school about the Chipotle bowls. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh
Oh my!
my
Looking at it
god.
then and now, I mean, yikes! But
Dude,
that
when me
would
and
be
my
pretty funny. I can't lie.
when me and my brother, this is like 13 years ago, I believe, which is crazy to think that I can say that I've been living. I'm 27, MJ. Time
Yeah, I'm
flies.
29, dude.
So like, no, I was actually 15 years ago, not even 13 years ago, about 15 years ago. Me and my brother went to a McDonald's. No, it was 13 years ago because he had a car, and we went to order 7 McDoubles. Seven. You know how much that cost? 7 McDoubles. Then it cost like $9. 7 McDoubles now would run you like $25, and it's uh, people are realizing that of course fast food isn't the perfect example, but that's also extends to groceries and more. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And I think the thing about groceries is like me and my girlfriend, we have seen that price strategically rise across the board. And those were also things we were talking about with our special guest. We'll say that when the episode's out and so forth. But yeah, I mean, it's things that it's things that hurt. But looking at the next segment of all this, the global context beyond domestic turmoil, the U.S. foreign policy watchers are eyeing a series of alarming developments. Russia has reportedly expressed willingness to send hypersonic missiles to Venezuela. We all know Trump is trying to get in Venezuela because Venezuela has, what was it, Mohammed, the most oil and
The most oil reserves in the entire world. So just quick 10 seconds. The difference between a Venezuelan oil and Iranian and the Middle Eastern oil is that Venezuelan oil isn't as clean. So it has to go through more refining before it can be used. But they do have the world's largest oil reserves.
yes. So with that, we see that they're going into Venezuela, and Vanguard News also indicated that the U.S. military has drawn up contingency plans for potential intervention in Nigeria, which is like okay, with
The
lightning.
reason I want to say this, the reason why they're looking at invading Nigeria isn't because they want to defend Christianity. If that was the case, they'd branch away from Israel, which discriminates Christians in the West Bank and within their
There,
own borders and
there
in
it is.
Gaza. The reason why they're looking at invading Nigeria is because China has a very strong economic relationship with Nigeria. So if they can militaristically invade Nigeria with their own reasoning of, hey, this is for XYZ, of course, we're doing this to defend Christianity in the world, which the United States isn't the world's religion police. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
nor
The
it should
Donald,
be.
dude, our president literally cheated on his wife with a porn star. He's had 3 different wives. His current wife was a nude model. You know what? Okay, I'm all about people changing for the better, and I shouldn't criticize Melania for her prior past. We can all be better people.
Oh
We can
yeah, of
all learn
course.
from our mistakes. We all make mistakes. But Donald Trump hasn't learned from his mistakes. So when we talk about, oh, we want to defend Christianity, we need to start domestically.
Yeah, seriously,
We need to
domestically.
look at defending the ideology, the values of Christianity from within, and putting people in charge who are willing to rape children is not defending
Well, I was gonna say, and
Christianity.
actively like pushing, cheering, and jeering for the raping of Palestinian soldiers that are captured and things of that nature, which is
Which
absolutely
some are
insane.
Christian.
Exactly, yeah, it's absolutely um, insane. But yes, that is there wasn't really much global news out there besides these two little points, which are very important to understand as potential escalations with Venezuela, Maduro's regime, and as well with Nigeria. And Mama, any last closing thoughts?
So, any last closing thoughts? I'm happy with how this last Tuesday, Wednesday went. I'm glad Democrats are grabbing control. I'm glad they're grabbing control and also making these moves away from Israel. I'm glad that we're seeing people challenge Richard Torres. Hopefully AOC challenges Chuck Schumer and grows confidently anti-Israel based off the backing of her supporters. And I am glad to see that Trump is being put into the corner that he deserves to be put in because he's a weak, pathetic man who probably can't even bench the bar.
Yeah, I would agree. And with my last statements here, I'm definitely excited for 2026. Um, Looking forward to working with the Mikey Sherill administration in my jobs capacity, and looking forward to also bringing in more candidates, more other individuals to the podcast so that we can expand the different levels that we're talking on and the different issues that we're talking on as well. And as always, thanks for tuning in to Behind the Ballot, where we keep politics engaged, balanced, and informative. Stay curious, stay critical, and stay involved. I'm Mikkel Jenkins, and until next time, keep looking beyond the headlines and behind the ballot. Thank you. Have a good night.
I still really like that punchline,
Dude,
and
it works
I
so
hope our
well.
listeners like it. Hey, it feels
It's so
crisp. It
crisp. So
feels
like I have these hoodies that are I haven't the ones that I showed you. So I think there's ones that have the engaged, balanced, and informative on the back. And I'm thinking putting the looking beyond the headlines and behind the ballot on the back for another one as well. Because hopefully as things progress, we get good. We get a lot more viewership. Um, my girlfriend through her job,
Speaking of viewership, to
yeah,
the two listeners who have been watching us most of the time, one guy actually just joined me. Had somebody else who's watching us most of the time, but one person's been watching us the whole time. Thank you
yes,
guys.
thank
We
you.
really
We really appreciate
appreciate
you
the
guys.
support.
You guys do a lot for us and make it seem like we're not talking to each other in an echo chamber. So we really appreciate
I agree. If there's even one
it.
person
Yeah, one
listening,
person
I'm
is
like,
fine.
okay, we got somebody listening. Let's chat.
No,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
But like hopefully as we gain prominence within these last 2 months going into the new year and so forth, I would hope eventually that we're gonna have a store out, website store that's gonna have behind the ballot gear, hats, all of that, etc. So you guys can show off that you're listening to, a podcast that is giving you the most engaging, balanced, and informative information as always. So yeah, thank you again,
Thank
everybody.
you guys for listening. God bless America. I hate Donald Trump. I hate Hillary Clinton. I hope you all have a good night. May peace be with you all.
Good night.